Hey everyone, and welcome to Almost Cancelled. I'm Peter, that is Connor, and we are going to talk about The Handmaid's Tale, Season 3, Episode 5. It's called Unknown Caller. So, full spoilers for the episode, as always. And this review, as all of our Handmaid's Tale reviews, well, not all, but since like two episodes ago, Cindy Palacios, our patron, is sponsoring these specific reviews from Handmaid's Tale. So, thank you to her. This title, actually, I noticed the title before I watched it, and I was actually, now that I've seen it, the title makes it, like, I get what it's referring to.
There's context.
Yeah, there's good context there for the thing. I think this episode's pretty neat for a couple of reasons. I think it's neat because it does this thing where, like, okay, they want June to call Luke. Thank you. Yes, husband face. They want June to call Luke, and because they want to, like, Serena wants to see Nicole. She wants to see the baby. That's kind of the goal. And we have this scene early on where Serena's invited into the ridiculous round table, like the evil villains who are going to take over the universe, like round table.
They're having fun.
Yeah, like this show and its set design, it's not restrained in every way because the direction's very in your face, but it's typically pretty good anyway. This set design, though, stuck out to me as being maniacally evil looking, when most of the time it's not that. Ostentatious, there you go. But she's invited in, and it's kind of a big deal. And I know that at one point, Fred gives her, it's like the footprints, because they've got like medical records, but I noticed that every single bit of text on the page had been like blacked out.
Redacted.
Yeah, all redacted, because she's not allowed to read, you see. I don't know, it just made me laugh. But yeah.
I love this episode
until
the last 5 minutes. And
okay.
then it frustrates me.
Last 5 minutes, okay. Is that including the actual the tape recording?
Yeah.
Right, okay. Because I think what I liked about the way this episode plays out is they want June to like phone him so he'll agree to meet Serena. Well, it's actually for both of them, but he insists no, it's just Serena. I'm not speaking to him. Understandably, and I think what I liked about this is that he has this phone call with her, and it's an unknown caller, and he doesn't answer it at first, but he does, and she's got 2 minutes, and she has to get him to agree to this, and she does say, she says, "I love you," like, early on, and she says it again at the end as it cuts off, and doesn't quite get it through. What I liked about this is that this is the first time they've spoken in the show. Not including flashbacks. This is the first time they've got to speak in the show.
Yeah.
And it's kind of frustrating because she can't just be emotional. She can't just get into the conversation.
Very restrained, isn't it?
Yeah, she has. It's that tight close up on her the whole time. She's so aware that there's people around her. And actually, one of the little touches I loved is that when the phone call ends, despite the fact that Lawrence has been, what he's been, all the time, he does actually kind of go to give her a handkerchief, like, as if she might need it. Like, he's conscientious of how she might feel right now.
Oh, definitely, yeah.
And he's been such an enigma, and we'll talk about him and his wife in a bit, but what I liked about the tape recording being snuck through that he gets to, Luke gets to hear later, is that for me it was like, okay, you got almost the frustrating version of this earlier on, and now you get to have the real emotional version where she got to just unload her thoughts and feelings.
Absolutely.
And it met about Nick, and kind of like be honest about all this and be like, hey, if you need someone, you can find someone to survive. Like, you can move on, and I won't hate you for it. Because this is where we are now. We're at this point, we've been separated for so long. I'm in Gilead, I'm in this state, that we're way past the point of thinking that she might be rescued any time now. We're past that point of a quick resolution. So
I just said a minute ago there that I included the tape recording in the bit I didn't like.
I assume it's more what's going on in present time as this is happening?
No, it's actually something very specific in the tape recording that I strongly dislike.
Okay.
It's the fact that she tells him, oh no, her name's Holly, not Nicole.
Okay.
And I feel like that's undoing quite a major beat where, when she agreed with Serena, it's like, do you know what? We're going to go with Nicole. It felt like they'd come to an understanding. And
that's fair.
and she gave him to to Emily to give to Luke as Nicole, right? Not as Holly. Her name was Nicole. This felt like it just undid that for no real reason that I could see.
See, I think my defense of this, it's not so much that I think she wants Luke to use Nicole, although he probably won't now. Because the way she said, I think it's almost like a, not a writing flaw. Or maybe it is a writing flaw, but like I could almost wave that off though as being the cat. Like June's just so emotional that she phrases it really badly. I think she just wants to tell him what she would name another daughter, like what she named her, right? Because it's important to her that he knows that, and it's like,
I get that, but I think the phrase she says is her real name is Holly.
No, I agree with the phrasing, but I don't think June's intention is for him to like start using that. I think she just speaks poorly, if that makes sense.
Perhaps, but it came off. It struck me the wrong way.
But
sure.
The acting's good because I think is like this scene. It was actually giving me, for anyone who's watched Lost and loved Lost, this was giving me a certain Desmond and Penny phone call kind of vibe from The Constant, which is like maybe the best episode of that show. It's like in top 5 for sure. And this was a great emotional scene. Like this, like him getting to hear this and him breaking down the street. I was worried actually because this was like right as she was being arrested, or I mean, it turns out it wasn't arresting exactly, but like she's being taken by the the man in the van, and
it's very ominous as well. I feel like maybe I'm misremembering, but I feel like there was sirens, like the red and blue lights that you could see reflections of on the bridge. Going past, obviously they weren't for him, but it felt symbolic.
And you had earlier on her asking, is Luke in trouble? Will they try and go after him? Is he safe? Yeah, she's just saying that to Lawrence. And Lawrence has been, like mysterious, and
he's eating a lot now. All that cholesterol, bad for his health.
Yeah, it's the blood pressure. That's a silent killer. And I was worried that this was going to be a gut punch where he was going to get like shot in the face. Like they'd sent an assassin or something like that, to kill him at the end. I was really worried they were going to pull some sort of like drastic gut punch like that, and luckily they didn't. And it was just this emotional scene. And there is the gut punch, I suppose, of what Serena and Fred are now doing at the end, where the reason why they've had someone pick her up is to come in and stand in the background, all dressed up in the fancy version of the Handmaid outfit, and they're basically pleading to Canada to return their daughter to her family. It's like a emotional request as opposed to because they don't have any legal route to go down here.
No, absolutely not. But they play it as a kidnapping, and the government should comply, and treat with us.
And to an extent, like you can't say that a baby is seeking refuge because the baby won't understand anything that's going on. Maybe what the interesting outcome of this is going to be is the argument between where probably most people in Canada will agree that the baby shouldn't go back, but
they might have to send it back to not cause a huge war.
Yeah, and then the fight that because I realized after the phone call specifically, because again very emotional. Luke was on his knees crying after it, really really good. And even just like I mentioned the handkerchief, but even the way Lawrence when June says, "May I be excused?" He's like, yes, you can. He's like, it's almost like she's like, I don't care that the Waterfords are in the room. I don't give a shit. Like, just can I go? Really good stuff. Really well done. And I like the scene afterwards where we see Moira like find out about it, and she's like, wait, how did she sound? Like what? Like you called? She called? Like that's insane.
It's completely out of the blue, and there was no expectation at all.
Yeah, I was actually expecting Moira to go to the meeting as well as backup. I wasn't expecting Luke to be there essentially on his own. Obviously, the guy who offered Serena amnesty essentially last season was there. He's like, yeah, that offer's still there. And I was worried that Serena like might have, done something bad after, because obviously we keep saying last season how we kept kind of starting to sympathize and like her a little bit, and then she'd do something evil, and it would be like, Serena.
And this episode does that all over again.
To an extent, yeah. I mean, it's not actually as bad as I thought, because I thought she actually had orchestrated something really bad. Like I say, with Luke's like death and stuff. And I thought that she wasn't going to give him the tapes, and we didn't know it was tapes. We just saw a parcel that said for Luke, and she forgets to give it to Luke in person, but she clearly left it behind so that the Canadian guy could. Well, he's not even Canadian, he's from Atlanta. He says that, but this guy can hand it over. So she does actually do the nice thing in there. And there's even a moment before she goes where she asks Rita to read the inscription, because Rita like hesitates and she's like, "No, go on, read it." Just those little neat moments. But
no, I mean, Serena meeting with Luke is easily the best scene of the season so far for me.
My favorite exchange of the whole season so far is probably, I think she said, I don't know what the exact phrasing was, but I think it was "God bless you," and he just goes "F you," like immediately.
Yeah,
like it doesn't, like, not even entertaining this bullshit.
Yeah.
And she tries to, like, say various things, and like she's told to blend in, so she changes her clothes and she looks like a normal person for like 10 minutes.
It's the first time she's been dressed like a regular person in years.
Yeah, fascinating scene.
Just the insanely tight close-ups on her face, even more so than usual for this show.
Yeah. And it is this weird murky thing where she's like, let her decide for herself when she grows up, like, who I am and what Gilead is. And like, we know she does care for her, and we've seen that enough of the murky, like, basically, the humanity of the sliver of humanity that's in Serena, that's been peeking out a little bit more recently, although maybe regressed a little bit at the end. We've seen enough to know that there is some genuine emotion here, but at the same time, I don't think anyone watching this can blame Luke when he's like, "No, I'm going to tell her exactly what Gilead is. I'm going to tell her exactly where she came from."
They can't blame Luke at all, because especially when you consider that Luke doesn't know this woman. He doesn't know.
Oh, sure, yeah.
The what she's done. The things that we've seen, June's seen. Because the fact is, when it comes to Nicole, everything she's done has been extremely genuine. And I think she up until this point where we are here, everything she's done has been in the best interests of the baby.
Yeah, and it's almost like she was willing to let that be it, but then Fred's like, "Hey, this doesn't have to be the end of this," and he's got an idea, and obviously that's what we see at the end, is this broadcast that he wants to do, and she goes along with it, and part of me is like secretly hoping that like Serena's playing him a little bit, like there's some sort of end game here, that she is doing something for, because that's another thing, when June agrees to make the phone call, and because she's Serena's like, "Let me speak to her on my own," and like, Fred and Lawrence leave the room, and she speaks to her and she calls her June. She says, "June, please, like, can you do this," kind of thing. And June's like, "If I do this for you, I want something in return." She's like, "What do you want?" It's like, "I want you to owe me."
And she agrees.
That was a really weirdly timed hiccup being held in.
Yeah.
But she agrees, and I wonder, like, because she's always reverted to being the worst of the worst, and it's happened like so much in season 1 and 2. I wonder if they're almost playing us at this point, where we were expecting her to just be evil again, but she might actually reveal that no, she's got something up her sleeve here.
I kind of hope so, because over the last few episodes we've spoken how the people who got the early reviews, they got the first 6 or whatever, and they were not super positive. This beat here at the end of this episode is the first time I agree with them, where it feels like it's just reverting into a holding pattern. Now it could subvert that, and there's more going on with Serena, but right now, just she's actually terrible again.
I think to an extent, if she's willing to go along with this because she's like having second thoughts and wants Nicole back, I'm willing to accept it depending on how they do it to a point, because I get that, seeing her again, the emotion of it, it's not even her idea. It was this, like, Fred, like, presenting it on a platter and her just being too tempted to turn it down, kind of thing.
I get that.
Like, and if she is playing him, if this is some sort of, like, to maintain her character, essentially, if you will, like, if she said no to this, like, what would Fred think?
Well, this is the thing, though, because Fred's very aware that she wanted Nicole in Canada, because when he sends everyone out from the round table, and he talks just like, "Look, I know you wanted to leave her there. I know you think she's safe." So they're very open on that topic.
Sure,
so this is
sure. I do think it's this dangling temptation. Like, I think that's what it is. I think he is trying to win favor by, and this kind of goes back to what you said a couple of episodes ago. When we first met Serena again this season, he said, "Oh, everything will be back to the way it was. You'll see, and everything will be fine, and as it should be." And I think he's essentially doing the, like, getting pregnant to save the marriage thing. He's kind of doing that in a weird way, where he's like, "No, if I get the kid back, it'll fix everything."
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
I think that's what he's doing. And I think to an extent he's right in that the temptation for her is so great to just buckle and accept the kid. Now, depending on how they play, it might feel like a holding pattern, but it does raise a lot of like diplomatic issues. This at the very least, which should be interesting to explore. And I did like the part of the scene where June, before it starts, and she's like standing behind him, she's like, Serena, tell me. Like she feels like close enough to her to like whisper to her and like try and get the info here.
No, because like my initial, it was quite wrong. And my initial reaction was, "Oh, God damn it, Serena, not again!" And then I went, "Oh yeah, again." It kind of caught up to me like within a few seconds of this again. It's Serena reverting back again, and just I hope there's something more going on this time, a subversion, something that's beyond just her giving in to the the base desires.
Like I say, if it is just that, I can live with it, depending on how they do work with it and how they handle like her reasoning for it. And yeah, I'll see where they go with it. Other scenes that were really interesting in this episode was Lawrence's wife, and seeing them together, we hear that she misses, quote unquote, the man that made her the tapes, because she talks about, in college he made like mixtapes because he wasn't very good at expressing his feelings, so he made mixtapes to give her, which is funny actually. That made me feel a little bit old that the age that Bradley Whitford is at the point now where cassettes were the thing when he was in college, and I'm like, I was only around for the tail end of audio cassettes, right? That like that was the thing when I was.
But you remember them,
yeah. So the fact that now someone who's like in their 60s is like that was college. I'm like, wait, what? And obviously tapes were around before I was born. It's not like tapes, like
tapes were around for a while, yeah.
Yeah, but
It is funny now, obviously, because we're right on the tail end of cassettes. There are people around our sort of age who are borderline unfamiliar, but a few years younger, and some of them never used one.
Well, yeah, we watched the Marvel's Runaways season 1. There was a joke in that none of the teenagers knew what a VHS was, and that made us feel ancient. We were like, oh god.
Yeah.
Like,
yeah, that was terrifying, wasn't it?
And that was only maybe 10 years of a difference generational wise. It's not that big of a gap. Like, these actors all playing those characters were maybe 17, 18, and I'm watching that when that aired, probably I was 28. So maybe 10, 11 years for me.
It was less of a gap for me.
Yeah. So yeah, rub that in, you prick.
I'm glad you noticed.
But like, it's not actually that big of a gap, really. So I don't know. Anyway, made me feel old. Is what I'm saying. And June has this great speech. First of all, she bonds with her because she's really concerned about how she feels about what's going on. Does the wife, and June has this great speech about when it's all you have, holding on to the slither of what someone used to be. If it's still kind of there in a small way, and later on she sees them listening to music together. Cruel to Be Kind specifically. And which this show sometimes it'll go a bit too far with the source music. I think sometimes it really nails it though. I think Cruel to Be Kind nails it, and I don't know how you feel about the ending, but I did kind of like Sunday Bloody Sunday coming in.
Do you know what? I'm a lot more forgiving of the source music in this episode than some others because it had a lot of context through the tapes.
Yeah, it was thematic, because this idea the tapes came up, and June listens to them, and then we see.
So it was quite it felt relevant. I mean, you can question the choices being a bit, on the nose or whatever, but the actual use of source music here, there was no problem with it. There were times where I feel like they just do it to be a little bit off kilter because they can.
Yeah, but no, that was kind of a sweet moment, and it kind of played into the idea of like, she's changed so much, Luke's probably changed so much since they've been separated, but. Like
there's something in there.
Yeah, there's still in there. And June even says, I think, in the speech to him that she's she's still holding on to who she was, but that's not who she is right now.
It's not all that she is, but it's still part of her.
Yeah, and hearing her say she's ashamed, but Holly / Nicole was born out of love. Like, it was a very powerful speech. There was a lot in there that was like really, it was her getting stuff off of her chest, and to me it almost felt like because she is transitioning into this fighter almost, where she's planning and scheming and trying to accomplish things. This was almost like her saying goodbye and getting the things off of her chest that she needed to get out before she really could focus on what she's doing.
Yeah, I agree, and I was really glad that Luke learned about Nick this episode, because there was a moment where he says to Serena about your husband, with the baby, and you can see Serena just
almost
trying.
Yeah.
She's really considering it.
Yeah, she's just dropping that cat out of the bag. But no, it's nice that June gets to be the one to say it. That she gets to, because it's a big thing for her. So her getting to actually be the one to deliver that news and get it off of her chest to the person that it matters most to.
I think it plays a lot better coming from her versus from Serena.
Yeah, because that'd have been another heel turn moment if she'd like, actually she had an affair with the driver.
See, interestingly, I can see Serena not using that as a vindictive thing, but as a genuine, more like, no, this is almost a comfort. No, this wasn't a terrible rape. This was something that she was okay with. Like, as while that, yes, this is her husband and he's going to feel shitty about that. It's better than the, okay, no, my husband just raped her.
Yeah, doesn't change the fact that was still happening on a regular basis for a year or whatever.
It absolutely doesn't. But I can see her using that as a way of like being sympathetic. Like you put it. I think if she had told Luke about it, it wouldn't have been. It wouldn't have been a vicious thing at all. It would have been a genuine thing.
Yeah, she's pulling the knife out the chest and then accidentally ramming it into his side, as opposed to intentionally ramming it into his side.
Yeah. But it's still better in the side than in the chest.
Sure, no. I did like the final moment though. I like the track in on June's face and her just seething with Sunday Bloody Sunday.
The lighting changing.
Yeah, because to me, like, we've had some moments like this before where she has like a dramatic point at the end in a narration or whatever in a song player. But for me, this was very much, all right, bitch, it's on. That's what this moment felt like.
Yeah, I think especially with the lighting, because it all drops out and it's just her spotlight, and it feels like it's going to go into like a full soliloquy almost.
Yeah.
Obviously, it doesn't quite get into that, but that's the feeling that it evokes.
No, I thought that was good stuff. Yeah. No, I'll be honest. Yeah, the Holly thing did stick out to me, but it didn't like ruin the emotion of the scene for me.
Yeah, I think it bothered me a bit more. I really didn't like it.
But no, it turns out though, given the following scene, that Serena might have deserved it. Amusingly.
Well, maybe, but June didn't know that yet.
Oh, she didn't. But still, interesting, Elisabeth. So no, I'm curious to see where they go with some of the stuff they've set up here. I think this was the best episode of the season so far, though.
Easily, yeah. Like I said, I had my problems with the last few minutes, but the rest of it is we should talk about the stuff with the walking partner.
Yeah. Oh, I laughed out loud actually. See when she's like, she's talking about Nicole and how I pray that she comes back to Gilead, and like she's waiting for the normal response from June, and she's just like, bite me, just walks away.
Yeah, that was good.
That was so good.
And then at the end, when it comes back around, she's really subdued, and it turns out, okay, she thinks she's pregnant, and now it's happening to her. It very much struck me as that poem. They came for the socialists, but I didn't care because it wasn't me.
Yeah,
that was very much her attitude.
For her, it's a repeat thing though, because didn't she mention
she's done through this already,
like 4 times, or something like that. Yeah, so
yeah.
That's her 5th.
But the idea that as long as it wasn't happening to her, she was quite content just strolling around.
Yeah.
But now the spotlight's back on her again. She's concerned.
So the question is June's bite me in this better or worse than the epic bite me from the hit television show Buffy the Vampire Slayer? Now, I'd argue that this one is more effective in that it really comes out of nowhere, because it's not something that you expect coming out of June, right? And who she's saying it to. Buffy's is more set up, and of course, bite me was kind of a phrase that was associated with the show just because it's a vampire show, and it was kind of a, it was a thing they put on posters and stuff. But it had like so much emotional weight because it was Buffy saying this to like the head watcher, right? It was, there was this, yeah. So it was more of a nice ironic thing because of who she is.
Yeah. So my answer is screw you.
I believe what you meant to say was bite me.
No, no. I explicitly did not mean to say that.
Okay, all right, just checking. Just checking. So yeah, that was Handmaid's Tale this week.
Yeah.
There was a really poignant little moment during June's narration where there's like sort of like brief flashes to like the night she was dancing with Luke before they made Hannah, before they made Hannah. I was just checking I had the right daughter there for a second. And she said something really poignant. I thought was she's like, people can survive without sex, but it's the lack of love that kills them.
Yeah.
That was a really poignant little moment. Especially given how, the way sex is used in this show, where it is.
Yeah, and then the love with Nick.
Yeah. How that was kind of a lifeline.
Yeah.
So no, there you go. That is episode 5 of Handmaid's Tale. So once again, the reviews of Handmaid's Tale are sponsored by our patron Cindy Palacios, so thank you to her. You can of course go to patreon.com yourself, patreon.com/MailFuzzTV specifically, where you can support us for as little as $1 per month, and you get bonuses, exclusives, you get some stuff early, and most importantly, you keep the shows coming and all the content coming. So go and have a look. You can get us on Twitter at mailed_fuzz. You can support us in other ways, of course, by simply liking, subscribing, commenting, let us know what you think. You can obviously review the audio feed, the Almost Cancelled TV Review audio feed on your iTunes. Don't forget, there's also a Almost Cancelled Netflix Reviews audio feed with all the Netflix originals if you've not been checking that out if you're on the audio podcast. But otherwise, that is us. Don't forget to plug it. I guess other things we're doing. I guess we should plug some of that. Connor, you plug something.
Yeah. Too Old to Die Young started on Amazon since the last episode, I think. It is a show by Reversion. It's 10 episodes and it is unfiltered. It is a incredible direction. It's well worth checking out if you like that. If you're a fan of his movies.
Yeah, and maybe just to give you something a bit more in line with this show, Big Little Lies. Me and Tara are reviewing that right now, week to week as well. That's a HBO show, and the reason why I say tie it in thematically is because it's very much a female character-driven show. All the main characters are all female, and it's dealing with a lot of kind of similar topics, I guess, in a way to Handmaid's Tale, but in a very different setting, because it's it's present day, real world, as close as we can get. But yeah, go check that out. So that is Handmaid's Tale. So thank you once again for watching and listening. We always appreciate it. Keep watching TV, guys. Have you got any vanilla?